I'll begin with you, Jake. There's a lot out there when it comes to the story of Jan Broberg. I just wondered, what was your main point of reference on this occasion? Was it the script? Was it the documentaries? Or how did you kind of help craft your performance in this show?
For me, it's certainly the scripts. I did a fair amount of research going into this about what we knew of Robert Berchtold and his life, and really just some factual elements to understand the timeline and where he would have been coming from logistically, and then some reading Lolita and things like that to kind of dip into that world in some way, and then ultimately just having that kind of running in the background and trying to fulfill the scripts that we got for the 9 episodes. And that seemed a fair way to go about it, because Jan and Marianne had given Nick and the writers like a treasure trove of material and documents and information, and they poured through that and had a Mormon writer on staff, a former member of the church, and a Mormon consultant in the writer's room. And so they were working from a very factual place as well. And so then I felt like to just fulfill the story within the script was a true and nuanced way to go about this. Yeah.
And Leo, I mean, I remember when I first watched the documentary as well, that I was so fascinated by the character of Gail, who we didn't get to know too much about, because when the story is told, sometimes hers isn't, because it's kind of Robert's crime, the Brobergs are these kind of victims, and she's caught between the two. But I think this series does her story so much justice. Was that something you were really pleased to explore, and how important was it that Gail had her story told in this way?
For anyone who has been the victim of an emotionally, verbally abusive relationship or groomed, I think that Gail's story is very important, because we kind of see the bad doing and then rope everything into that without feeling a lot of scoping out if there's any empathy there. And I think Gail, I hope, brings some empathy into the situation and some other shade of it.
And Jake, I always imagine you sort of ask, when people play villains in a kind of more of a traditional kind of Marvel sense, whenever you ask someone about playing villains, there's this idea that playing evil can be kind of fun. It's this delving into the realm of villainy can almost become caricature and allow actors this space to really ham it up to some degree. But you're playing a man who was pretending constantly to be a normal, nice guy. Did that make it quite hard and challenging to get that same sense of evil, but have it be so contained as it is in this series?
I would, again, like kind of pivot back to the quality of these scripts, that the thing to me that is so maybe not unique, but certainly engaging and uncomfortable with Berchtold is his ability to flip on warmth and then flip it right back off, and finding the places within the story that he's pivoting 90 degrees, 180 degrees from one thing to the next in a way that those of us with empathy and compassion and generosity don't do. That itself is a communication of evil intentions. And that was, to me, more the way to communicate his aggression and duplicity than I don't know, a crazy look or something like that there's more within the writing. And also the very simple, like, if somebody looks at you for too long, it's uncomfortable. And the kind of person who could look at someone and not break eye contact, you go like, that's a sociopath. It's like, there's very simple ways to communicate physically with a camera that this person is not on the same wavelength as you and I. and that felt like a truer way in than playing the villain, you know.
Yeah, well, I thought you both did wonderful jobs. It's a fantastic, really great performance. But thank you so much, and best of luck with the release of the series.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!